Well, friends, my colleagues on the dais, first of all, I thank the hosts for organizing this, and I'm very glad that Franchise India has been founded by one of the people who should be an inspiration to the other young Indians who should learn to make and cope up with this globalized world on their own. And they should take opportunities which are available, and they should rise in a globalized and a more integrated world. Although I represent PSG Chamber of Commerce, which is a business house, but I'm well aware that education cannot be treated just as any other business. First of all, there should not be any expectation of a return of investment or a making of profit. That is not really the goal of education. I don't think you can have institutions like Yale or Harvard or King's College or Oxford or Cambridge if you want to see the return on capital. No, that cannot be the game. You need land, certainly, you need infrastructure, you need government support, yes. But then, that is the crux. There has to be a motivation to educate, motivation to rise, and motivation to help our people to rise and prosper and to develop in this country. Long ago, much before India became India, and it was known as Bharat or Hindustan, we had the best educational systems in the world. Whether it was Takshila or some other places, we had the best. Our decline started precisely because education was sought to be made a monopoly by the then people in power. Intentionally vast amount of people were kept deliberately illiterate so that they can serve, and the slavery in India started in-house. It didn't come from overseas. First, because of the rigid and inhuman caste system, where the top priests monopolized education, intentionally made everybody illiterate. That's how India became weak. The roots are not here. Whatever problem we are facing here can be traced to Mahabharata. You can record me, I have no shame. When Dronacharya refused to teach somebody archery because he was a lower caste, that is the root of India's problem. That is the root of India's politics even today. If you go to rural areas, especially the government schools, I'm sorry to say that all these statistics which are being got at about 60,000 universities, many of them exist only on paper. Go to the rural schools in villages, the buildings is in shambles, there is hardly any toilet, there is hardly any teacher. There are schools, as I repeat, which are not even worth mentioning. All these things have to be treated at the grassroots level. We at urban areas, we are far more successful and we are far more lucky. But India, which is Bharat, and the numbers which we are talking about, 1.3 billion people, 60 to 70% of our population below 35 years, and I think about 50% below, say, 14 or 15 years. This is a kind of ambitious target which we have to meet. Government, of course, can meet a part of it. The public, including the chambers of commerce, have to do it as a social motivation. And yes, they will not lose money. They may not make the kind of high returns they expect in the stock market. And you should forget about the returns which you expect in the stock market. But that is what we have to see. Education must always be linked to values. Education cannot be just a like of, assembly line, which becomes a raw material and you become a BPO, which is a semi-skilled job. No, that is not the aim of education. We have to live in a globalized world, and let us not forget that the world is aging. Russia is aging, Japan is aging, China is aging, many Western countries are aging, India is not, Vietnam is not. We must take full advantage of this demographic advantage which the world is again presented to India. And the 21st century is our century only if we can take and we can grasp it by the roots, and then India's century will come. And we can change the mindset only if we in the education stream can give a dedication that the school will be used for school, the colleges will be used for colleges, and we need land only for that particular purpose. It is good that India has opened FDI, but we need good and top quality brands like Yale, Harvard, Oxford to open up in India. That's the kind of quality of education we need. That is one area. Second area is a primary education, which, as I said, has to come to the bottom level. They can't afford it, so we should not even expect to earn anything from them. You can do it in various models, which is already working. I don't want to repeat. Some people are doing it in the slum areas. Some people are doing it in villages. And I'm very glad that most of the industry, wherever they're setting up plants or factories, they're helping the people in that location to educate themselves. We should not lose sight of that. And long before this, let us not forget that education has always been driven in India by the private sector. Whether there's Birlas who set up Pilani, and they have set up schools throughout the country, whether there's Tatas, you have Shri Ram School, you have Ramjas School. All these schools and colleges have been set up by private initiative. We also had examples of missionaries who set up St. Xavier's, St. Thomas, St. Stephen's throughout the length and breadth of the country. They have done a very good job. And therefore, the public-private partnership has always been there in India, and is not something new. What is new is the ease with which people get degrees and which they show universities on paper, but India does not need degrees. We need education. Why don't we want our sons and our sons and daughters to become teachers? It's a very good question. Why not? Teaching should be a noble profession. If you don't want to be a full-time teacher, at least become a part-time teacher. But why don't we become full-time teacher? Is it because the pay scale is not good? Is it because teachers don't command the kind of respect they should get? Yes, it is true. You don't get the kind of respect which you get. In many schools, today if the teacher hauls up a student, chances are the teacher will lose a job or the student will go to court. This is another area which needs a very deep examination. Teachers must be respected, and we need the best persons in each profession, whether it's a doctor, whether it's a lawyer, whether it's a businessman, whether it's a scientist. The best person must come and teach, even whether it's part-time. Now you have internet, you have so much IT. We can take advantage of IT and inculcate those systems. We must also remember that the quality of the public schools in India, you can't compare with the quality of public schools in America or in Europe or in Singapore. And let us not blame the government. They don't have the money, they don't have the skills. So again, we in the private sector, and during this conference, we should come up with a policy framework that what do we expect from the government. And we should do it dividing the various levels at which each education, both at the basic level, where the people can't even afford anything, at the elementary level, where they can only learn how to write their name, and how to promote them to go at the next level. And if somebody doesn't get admission in a good college or an institution, what are the IT tools which we in the private sector should develop, and we should make it available to the government, which should take the government approval so that it is properly integrated with the education system and it can be taught to those students, and they should also get a degree which is recognized. We should also welcome foreign participation. We should also welcome foreign franchise and brand into India so that the Indian education system can take forward. It is education at a different level. They should be told how to respect both males and females, and there is no distinction today in today's world between a male and a female. Both must have the same rights. Education should not be limited to schools and colleges. We should also have a continuous education and a learning program. It is compulsory for many professions in the Western country, not in India. But we should have a device how to keep educating, how to keep sensitizing our police forces, our military forces, and even the people who are expected to serve us. Because somewhere there is a break, there's a very big gap between what we expect from them and what we deliver. That is true even for auto drivers, that is true even for our taxi drivers, and that is true for every service provider in our country. Continuous skill development, continuous change in mind and thought and habits, and how to get over this inherited abuse and this caste system and this whatever we have called the language system. We must get over it. That should be part of our education system. Education should not be limited to what only the business wants. It should be extended to what is good for our society at large. And with this, sir, I welcome you once more in this conference, And I'm sure that with this kind of exchange, India will move forward and we will take a rightful place in the Comity of Nations. Thank you.